welcome to the meeting of the Consumer Affairs Committee. Florence has just shared the agenda if you don't have it already, so we have a pretty good idea of how we're going. Since this is my first meeting as chair and we have new appointees, welcome. I've asked Florence to call the roll and we'll make sure who's here, and if anybody who is new to this, please feel free to ask any questions.
Anne Bruno is excused. She does not have internet service. Jean Marie D'Oliva.
Here.
Ethan.
Here.
Thank you. Ethan Lowens. Brian Martinez. Patricia Mahesky. Stella Nicolau. Juliette Payaba. Dino Panagoulias.
Here.
Quinella Williams.
Here.
Thomas Wright.
I'm here for my very first meeting with you all.
Pauline Janelli.
Here.
Chair Kathleen Warnock.
Here.
Vice Chair Marie Torniali.
Here.
Board Chair Evie Chadzopoulos.
Here. Do we have a quorum?
We're not allowed to vote, so you don't require a quorum.
All right. So whoever is here tonight will be able to participate and ask questions. So Florence very helpfully gave us an agenda to start with. And now that we've taken roll, we're going to go with our first discussion. Now, since I haven't done this before, I'm going to walk through it for me. We are now going to talk about the rules for sidewalk cafes. One of the things that Florence forwarded me, and I think should be on everybody's bookmark, is the city sidewalk cafe rules, which is diningoutnyc.info. That has everything you need to know about clearance, setup, materials, and everything, so you can be informed when you are talking to applicants. Okay, so now our first restaurant to be discussed, and this is for outdoor seating, is Gran Piero Bakery. And I see that Mrs. Morrow is here. So is this
that's correct.
A new application or a renewal?
This is a renewal.
Okay, so if you wouldn't mind, just tell us briefly about what you have now as a sidewalk cafe.
Currently we have outdoor seating that is right outside of it's a bakery. It's retail wholesale, and we have seats that are outside. We have plants that are there. We've been in business over 30 years, so we have a lot of the area neighborhood that they come in, grab coffee, buy a pastry, sit outside. We've always been within our guidelines of what we're supposed to have, so we've never had any issues with anything.
All right, and so you are familiar with and compliant with all the city regulations for sidewalk dining, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to open it up to see if anybody on the committee has any questions or comments about this application.
Madam Chair, so you know, they did sign stipulations with the board to follow all guidelines by the City of New York.
Okay, that's good that we have those stips, because it's pretty clear what is and isn't done. Let's see, I wouldn't think that basically a bakery would have 311 or 911 calls, so I'm assuming that our community police wouldn't have anything to comment on this.
Through the chair, may I speak?
Yes.
Because this is Dine Out NYC, it's not the same as the old programs.
Okay.
So the cafes have not gone out to the police, because even though this entity had a license in the past, it's considered a new license because it's a new program. So it did not go to the police.
So in your experience, Florence, this has been a place that's been totally run along all the right lines and has been around for a while.
That is correct. Never a problem.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. And they will keep up with the current issues and rules. Now, Marie has her hand up. Marie?
I just want to point out that, as Juan said, this is a whole new program. So if everybody will look on page 2, where they had their materials checklist for the new program. Furnishings are lightweight and easily movable, which was a problem with the old program. They're not affixed to the sidewalk. They're minimum 8 feet from the ground. The awnings easily removable. Does not extend beyond the perimeter of the sidewalk cafe and complies with New York City Building Code. So they seem to be in compliance with the new program. Just pointing out that
Okay,
all of the outside cafes now will have to go for a whole new application. And a lot of them with new furniture, because it should be movable. As you saw before, a lot of the sheds were built into the sidewalk.
okay.
So,
Jean
May
Marie?
I ask a question? Oh, I'm sorry. Question for Edifice. Are we comparing to the COVID program or are we comparing to the regular sidewalk cafe pre-COVID? Because when we did the review in the office, we went off the pre-COVID sheds. Before there were sheds, before there was COVID. So this entity had a license prior to COVID. This entity ran a cafe outside prior to COVID. And we did not look at anything during COVID because there were no rules and regulations for the community board during COVID. So all comparatives are equal to and that of pre-COVID cafes.
well, I think I might disagree with that, Florence, because it's a whole new program, or a lot of stipulations that were not there before. For example, right? It's
No,
a
we
num-
had all these stipulations in our paperwork prior to COVID.
Okay.
You remember the steps?
Yes, I remember, but they redid all the program guidelines because how many? 70% of the outdoor cafes and or sheds were not in compliance.
Yeah, those were the COVID sheds.
Well, whatever.
If you recall,
That's why we have new guidelines now.
yeah, that's why our office sent out the stipulations for the liquor licenses and the cafes to all the board members.
Yes.
Right, but there's no liquor license here.
Oh,
No,
no,
I'm
the license slips I don't have.
The cafes, we sent out the stips for the liquor license
Right
and we
now,
sent out the
I'm
stips for the
just
cafes.
talking about Jean Pierre. I'm looking at their actual application. That's all, not a liquor license. Their
Okay.
coffee is great. They don't need a liquor license.
Yes. and for
No,
people-
we have a cafe stipulation, a separate entity cafe, sidewalk cafe stipulation.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So, Jean Marie, the question?
Not a question, just a comment. I've frequented this cafe for many, many years. They seem to be very respectful people. I think they're an asset to the community, and I've never seen a problem with their establishment in all the years. I'm on the board for 27 years now, and I've never seen any problems with them. And as I said, I frequent there. So they are respectable, good neighbors.
Oh, I'm very glad to hear that. And so for the folks who are new, and this is me because last time I was at these meetings, we didn't do the sidewalk and other stuff. We now have applications for both sidewalk cafes and roadway cafes. We don't have any roadway cafes tonight, and roadway cafes are in fact seasonal. So the era of sidewalk sheds is over. And so does anybody have any more questions for the bakery? Well, I thank you for your time this evening, and we're going to take this before the full board. And we really appreciate your coming out, and also that you, based on people talking about it, you run a strong business.
Okay, and I want to thank all of you for the positive comments. It means a lot, and we love the community, and we plan to be there for many years to come. So thank you very much. It means a lot.
You're most welcome.
Thank
Okay.
you. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Okay, great. So next up, we have Emoji Burger. Do we have anybody representing Emoji Burger?
Yeah.
I don't see it. Okay. And Florence, I believe you told me that this is a new application.
Yes, they did not historically have a cafe prior to COVID.
Okay,
They had received an email, a friendly reminder email. They received an email with the letter notice. So
And-
they may just be running late. Are we running exactly on schedule? They were given a time of 7 p.m.
well, we're early, so when they come, we can take them up. I certainly wouldn't want them not to be able to talk about their application in the STIPs. So, and while we are here, let's hold on for just a second and make sure that everybody does know that along with talking with businesses about liquor licenses, we are also going to be meeting with the owners of dispensaries, and as we just did, with the people who have sidewalk or roadway cafes. And just as I've done the last several days, I've spent some time online looking up the regulations for these. So they weren't supposed to come on till 7 p.m. and it's 6:47 right now. So how does the committee feel about moving on to the liquor licenses, or if they're here? Let's see, is Coco La Rev or Animos here?
Coco La Rev is here.
Okay,
Animos is here.
great. Okay, so you guys are up next and we have your applications, and you know that you're, well, with Animos, you know it's a new license, and with Coco La Rev, it is a renewal, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Okay. So right now, this is a very useful time. I'd like to hear from the community precinct officers and see if they can tell us a little bit about these two establishments.
Madam Chair, wouldn't you
Yes.
want to hear from the officer about one at a time, picking one and then dealing with the owner?
Yes. Okay, so since Coco La Rev is listed first, let's start with Coco La Rev.
Officer Tovar, can you give us an update on Coco La Rev, please?
You already did.
Yeah, how you doing? How you doing, everybody? My name is Officer Gabe Tovar, look 114th precinct. Can we get there? Can everybody hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with Coco La Rev, we have just looking at this year, we have 90 301 calls. That's from January 1st to July 16th. I'm sorry, May 16th, excuse me. And we have 90 301 calls, and we have 16 911 calls.
How many was that? How many was that? 911 calls?
16.
Okay, thank you.
So the 301 calls are all for noise. And that's a lot. When we look at other establishments, that's a lot, and it's a problem. So we have, issues with that. We get a lot of calls from the community complaining about that, and those are our concerns. Dennis, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'm gonna add. So yeah, in regards to the noise from Coco La Rev, they are probably my top one, if not one or two, my top 311 noise complaints. Especially coming into the warmer weather. I know on Sundays you guys have like an open, I don't know, you have like the backside you guys open up, which then Sundays I get nonstop 311 calls for noise, for bass and music coming out of the backside of the building. So when our officers actually respond, the front is actually pretty good. but the bass and the music is echoing out the back of the building.
Yeah,
So-
we've made some adjustments towards that, but we've also recognized that, for example, the back part, although the weather's getting warmer, we are not having live DJs there in the summer. That is not something that we're trying to do. If we have anything, there's elevator music, nothing, no bands, nothing like that. As far as the noise complaint that comes there, we do get a lot because I have given my number to people in the community to call me.
Mhm.
Some of these calls is by one or two people consistently. Sometimes I'm not even open. And if there's a car in front of the place playing our music while they're washing cars, they automatically assume it's ours. We've have meters in front of the place when it's open. When the fellow officers from the community come and they call to check, they read the meter that we have it there. We have these things set up on the side with the curtains that way we can reduce the bass on it. Honestly, is a chronic person. This must be like one or two people that consistently call. Even sometimes when we're not open, they're calling. I'm like, we're meeting our standards. We're not playing it after 10 o'clock on a Sunday. Our license is until 4. We don't stay until 4. I'm assuming that you're getting all these calls on the weekends, correct?
Yes, we get most of them on the weekends. And again, I'm not like, I'm fairly reasonable. I do understand, like, if I get a lot of like anonymous calls from one spot, like I realize that could possibly be just someone just constantly calling. And I have actually sent the Department of Environmental Protection over to your establishment and gotten negative readings on that. But I've also been there when, like, again, I'm going to go back to Sundays, especially when the weather gets warm. Like, you do have like some bass echoing out of the back side of the building.
That was one of the things we changed specifically for the summer, that we're no longer going to have those type of performances out there. As a new business, we try to appeal to everybody. We try to bring in different streams of revenue by having different type of events. But some of the events, even when, I mean, we've had the mayor there. We've had different people there, and the music is not necessarily loud. It's just, I can understand if you're outside and there's a gathering and you're not used to it, because during COVID, the place was closed down. There was no out, and those people got used to that. Now that the place has been open for 2-3 years now, it's, I have this space there that I'm pretty much trying not to use it at all. I don't even use it in the fall or winter when I should be able to, because I try to be conservative with the noise, and I give them, like I said, they have my number, they have my email. If they have a problem, I call them. If there's a DJ that has an opportunity, there's a new DJ and doesn't know the regulation of what our expectations are, we call them in and check them. Say, hey, you can't pass the meter from this particular sound base, right? Because we don't want to affect our neighbors. We try to be very conservative with those things, to the point that we changed our security team. Before we close at 4, but by 3, but usually by 3:35, 3:40, we already turning the lights on. We're trying to leave, make sure everybody's escorted out at a certain time. That way we can prevent all the noise and gathering in front of the place. We're doing our best and our utmost to make sure that we can be friendly neighbors, but sometimes people just tend to, they like to be chronic callers. I wish I can, I'm doing everything I can not to have bass. I even lowered the bass on some of the stuff and took it off, and they still complain, and it's like we're following the reader, but I don't know, people are not happy. You can't please everybody.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to
Well,
take more solutions.
It sounds like you're trying to take steps to lower the noise overall, but another thing that our community officers have just told us about is 16 911 calls. That's averaging about 3 a month. Hear a little bit more about that from the police.
I mean, year to date, honestly, they do have a couple 911 calls, but I mean, it's going to come with any bar or nightlife location. So again, to your credit, I will say that I don't have anything like major year to date that sticks off the page for this location.
Okay. Did you want to say something else?
I was just saying that, agreeing with what he was saying, or what Lieutenant was saying, that It's pretty average stuff.
Okay, well, we already have a couple of questions from the committee members, and I'm going by the raised hands. I'll start with Evie.
Through the chair, can I give you an update from the office? You'll need to know the constituent calls before you go to questions.
Yes, can you tell us about the constituent calls, Florence?
So in the office, it is not the same people calling all the time. It's various people going as far as 2 blocks away sometimes. What has happened when it was every entity there is that it's shaped like a funnel and the courtyard does permeate noise. While you may be doing the decibel count in the front, the back absolutely is a problem and it radiates. The other problem is that your patrons do pregame in the street, and while they're pre-gaming, they do blast the radio in their cars. So some kind of a notice in your entryway when your patrons come in, to be respectful to the community, to tell them not to have their automobile radios playing so loud would be beneficial. In addition to that, you operate against your stipulations. You have third-party promoters at times. You have employee dancing, which is not allowed. And that's a part of the stipulations that you notarize when you very first open the business.
That an employee is dancing?
Yes,
That's
you have the people on the silks, climbing the silks. You have, at times you've had people who shoot out fire and things of that sort. Or videotapes.
Yeah, I mean, those.
You're not allowed to do that. You've signed stipulations.
Okay. I mean,
yeah.
So private events that we do live shows, because that's what it is just for entertainment. If that's not allowed, that's what you're saying for private events. I just want to get clarity on that. I just want to make sure that it's correct, that what you're saying is correct. And then also, as far as,
Yes.
hold on, as far as telling people not to play music or what I might consider loud or they might not, it's kind of tough. Maybe the officer can shed some light. It's very hard for me to go to in front of a.
No, you shouldn't go to a car. You could just have a picture frame in the front of your entity.
I can do that. But if it continues, it's kind of hard to tell somebody that in their own personal car to lower their music, or you can't have the music this loud in front of here because in front of my establishment. But I'll do my best. I'll do my best to do that.
Your door people, do you think they could alert the people who are in front of the club to please turn down their volume? Because that's
they do. They can do that. It's something that we can have a request there for that. Also, I'm aware that we sometimes, like I said, have live promotions in there, but I'm not the only nightclub that's in that area. There's another place called another nightclub down the block. So you're saying that the music sounds 2 blocks away from there when we have.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
You referring to Acapulco?
Acapulco, yeah.
Yeah, they've been closed for probably at least a month and a half now.
Now.
Yeah, at least.
Well, that's good to know as well. So
the noise complaints aren't coming from them.
Okay.
2 blocks down. That's pretty far.
Yeah.
All right, but I get it.
We're bringing to your attention the things that we're hearing, Florence, at the office, and we have heard about people who consistently call 311 for noise and then 911. So what we're doing is bringing this to your attention, and hopefully you can make the kind of changes where the calls will go down and follow the stipulations that you did sign. So finally, Evie, did you have a question? We lose
Yes,
you,
I do. I do. Yes. Have you come before the board before because of complaints?
This is the first time, but I have sent things over, I believe, to Florence before about things that we've done and what we've done to change the situation there. like we said, we changed the security guards. We made sure they had a meter involved. We make sure that the draping in the back where it leads to the actual to the outdoor is constantly closed. What we were having opportunities were when the when we have the people are waiters move the garbage and all that stuff in the middle of the night because the place is packed. So we have the porters not going through that door because that was one of the reasons. Because when they open the door to put the garbage through the back, is open to the outside. So we have them go through downstairs. We've changed some stuff.
When was this exactly?
We started this. My God, like it had to be at least months ago, like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, because we noticed that it was still happening, and we try to be consistent with it all the time. We also make sure that we move some of the speakers and the bass from that side of the door just to prevent it, right? Because we are aware that the bass is kind of loud. We did those things. We've made some adjustments to it. You know, we have the meters. What happens is also that we've noticed that when the place is so packed, because people are there, they absorb the sound and the music. When the place is not so packed, it might sound it might sound even louder because there's not enough people to absorb the sound. So we've made adjustment towards that. We've taken that in consideration to lower the music based on the amount of people that are in the building, right?
So if it's packed, do you have a current and valid certificate of occupancy or has it expired? And are you?
It shouldn't be expired.
Are you sticking to the numbers that are required through your certificate of occupancy? So you're not sure if your certificate of occupancy has expired yet?
I'm pretty sure it's up to date, but I can definitely let you know and send you an email, and we can take my number or an email. I can send it to you.
And are you using third-party promoters?
It's not necessarily third-party promoters. We have people that we have events there when people have restaurants. We have a restaurant in the front. People come in. They actually stay in the space. They bring their people. We have events there. It doesn't always mean this is a promoter. It just means that people are having an event there in a place that that is private. Sometimes, most of the time, it's a private event. You know, doesn't always mean it's the third promoter. We have people that promote. We promote our place on Instagram. People come in. You know.
Well, I think it's important that we know that you have an up-to-date certificate of occupancy, and then you can actually answer whether you come up against it or find yourself in a place where you might have more people than you're legally allowed. So that's pretty important. I hope that you will get back.
You're absolutely right. We are nowhere near capacity in that place. The place it holds over 1,000 people. We never have 1,000 people in there. It's we're talking about maybe 350, 200 people. You know.
But it would be good to have that certificate of occupancy number and know that it is up to date, because that's just another thing that makes you a good neighbor.
Can you send that to us? Send that to the board office, please.
Yes, I could do that.
Okay.
I'm taking notes, by the way.
Thank you. Well, I'm taking some notes too here. And it does seem that it's been mentioned a few times about third-party promoters. Do you in advance give them the stipulations that they must observe before they come in and do a party?
They have to observe. No, say that again.
Well, with the third-party promoters who are coming in, you know what the level of noise can be, you know what capacity can be, you know what the local rules are.
Through the chair?
Yes?
They can't have third-party promoters at all. They're not allowed, according to stipulations, because of all the issues that have happened in our district. We don't accept any entity having third-party promoters. What he's saying is the place is closed and it's an event space. So being an event space, if you were having a Sweet 16 or some other event, people would hire somebody, a third-party promoter.
I think you might be thinking of our next person who's coming up.
Well, he just said he doesn't have third-party promoters.
Okay, well then that's good. That was my error, and thank you for clarifying that. So everybody knows then who does a nightclub that third-party promoters are not going to be happening. Okay, Thomas Wright, you have a question. Oh, unmute yourself.
I'm muted because I'm sitting here eating my dinner. But
Of course.
I would add to the chairperson's comment that the applicant distinguished his third-party promoters by pretty much using the definition of third-party promoters. We oftentimes refer to that distinction as a distinction without a difference. Certainly what he described to me sounds very much like a third-party promoter. But I do want to ask a few questions. One, there is a decimal reader in the front. Is that what was provided?
There's
Yeah.
a decimal reader. There's a decimal reader in the front and in the back as well, in the middle of the in the nightclub. And the security guard, two of them have it. In the front, when there's more people than usual, they have an additional one in the back as well. It's usually four. And the security guard in the front every so often goes through the front of the building and
Hello?
the back.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Hello?
You, Chris?
Yes.
Yeah, hi. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, hi. Can someone hear me over there on the other line?
Yeah, we can
Who is
hear you.
this?
Hello?
Yeah, who is this?
Hi, how are you? This is Dave from True Blue Security, representing Coco LaRive.
Okay, I'm going to get to you in exactly 2 questions, Dave. Okay, Thomas, do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
I believe that the answer was interrupted.
Okay,
So I would like to hear the complete answer, please.
Oh yeah,
So-
sure. So we usually have 4 meters, in 2 in the front and 2 inside of the actual space. And every periodically, the security guards that we have will walk from the front or towards the back of the actual corner where the back of the business is, just to double check to make sure that the meter doesn't go over a certain decimal.
Okay. Are there any records kept of those readings?
Yes, they have. The security guards have records of those things.
So and can those records be provided to the community board?
I'm pretty sure they can. Yes, as a matter of fact, he can answer those questions as well. Because
Very good. Okay, my second question to you, please, is you had inquired whether our district manager was correct in her referencing of the stipulations you had signed.
yeah,
And-
I just wanted to make sure, because these things get updated periodically.
So my question to you is, do you have copies of those stipulations?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I do. I'll
And
just
have you
to-
reviewed them?
Well, I haven't reviewed them in a while. This was a long time since we've gone into this. This is a long time since we go into these that we sign these licenses. But for the most part, yeah, I've read it in the beginning. Now,
do you
like I
think
said,
it might be a good idea to review them now? I mean, not right
Yes.
this minute, but to
no,
make
no, of course,
know that
of
what
course.
you're,
Through the chair, Madam
Yes.
Chair, the stipulations are never changed. The stipulations are always exactly the same. When any entity, any bar, restaurant who gets stipulations, receives them, they are attached to the liquor license with the state liquor authority. So once John Doe signs a stipulation, they're emailed directly to state and they're attached to the liquor license, and they do not change, they do not fluctuate.
Okay.
Standardized.
thank you for clarifying that. And so that means that anybody who is up will have copies of the stipulations, which have not changed in several years. Okay. Thomas,
you.
did you want to finish up at any point? Or, I mean, do you have anything else to ask?
I would just, to me, based on the testimony of the applicant, the stipulation has not been reviewed and should be reviewed. I would encourage that before the full board meeting, and so that there can be compliance. And I would be interested in seeing the records. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Okay, Naz M. You can unmute.
Hi, and actually I see in the chat, Dan asked this, but I was also gonna ask, when the NYPD representative said that the 911 calls were, quote, nothing major, well, what do they consider nothing major? Can we perhaps know some specifics as to, I mean, maybe not every single one, but what some of these were at least?
Okay. can we hear from the police?
How you doing? So I don't want to say like nothing major, but obviously like in the nightlife business, there are going to be certain like, you're going to get like some calls for like an assault or something like that. Like it just comes with the nature of the business. However, like when I say jump off the page, like I'm looking at like shootings, robberies, like things that come with like weapons and like serious injuries or things of that nature. I believe that we had how many 68 C complainants?
11.
Of those 16 911 calls, 11 of them were C complainants, which doesn't constitute like a crime in progress. It's just someone called, like maybe like they, it gets categorized as that for like they don't know what the category. Like obviously there's no assault, no crime committed, but like someone called 911 for like they couldn't find their car or something like that. It could come up as. So like those are 11 of the 16. So that's what I mean when I say like nothing that's like jumped off the page at me.
3 of them were 10-11.
And three of the 911 calls were alarms. Like for like a business has like an alarm, like a security alarm.
So that's not even when the business is open?
Right.
Okay.
Or maybe they're opening and like someone hit the alarm or something like that, but someone set it off. So there hasn't been many burglaries at the location. So that's what I mean by like, of the 16 911 calls, nothing that like I said, like stands out to me that where like I said, I'm not like taking like a shooting or something like that.
But there have been altercations and or shootings at the venue, or like
No, I don't have a shooting year to date. No, I do not have shots fired or shooting at the venue. No.
Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to pass that along. But what I really was gonna get at was more of a broad strokes kind of a thing. So it's been pretty consistent, and I think we got off on the wrong foot hearing that, it's a couple of serial harassers that are repeatedly reporting the venue, just because, first of all, from Florence's experience, it's not just like 2 people contacting that have some kind of grudge against the location. And I can say that there's various social media threads on Reddit, in the local Astoria Reddit, about how terrible it is to experience these nights around Coco Rev. So, and these aren't the same 2 or 3 people kvetching about a spot they don't like. Like, it's a lot of people with a lot of stories and lots of 311 reports. And surely Florence has spoken to these people. So I just got to say that just doesn't pass the smell test for me. And so while I can appreciate the owner coming here and saying that they're trying their best, maybe we're not seeing the desired result in terms of the venue being a good neighbor. And then on top of it, we're hearing there's no third parties, but essentially a third party is being described, as Thomas Wright mentioned. And then sometimes it's packed, but definitely it's not packed to capacity, whatever the occupancy is, but we don't know what that is either. So I just think that there's a lot of review that should happen. And I would not necessarily dismiss community complaints, because even NYPD said that there are a ton of 311 calls for the noise. So
I think that's a great idea. And I'd love to see the specific reports sent to the board office, because that way we can see what's coming in. And I also would note that I'm sure many of the members of the board do go right to social media when they see a place that we're going to be talking to. And it can be very educational to hear from different people. So I don't know if you do that, Chris, but you can really get a feel for what's going on at a place, whether it's on Reddit or Insta or several other different channels here in the city. Okay?
Yes, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Marie and then Dave. Thank you.
I just want to clarify, as now said, and Thomas Wright, you have, Chris indicated you have no third-party promoters, rather you have events. So can you describe what kind of events?
So let's say, for example, perfect example, if somebody wants to rent the venue out because they want to host a private event for work, or they want to do a holiday party for their staff, or if they want to have a meeting with food, and we have a restaurant. The space is big enough that we can close that off, and people just come in and bring and cater in. Sometimes people cater in and do their birthday parties there. I mean, that's a normal way
Okay,
of
I
it.
just want a clarification. So you're talking about people come in and have a party for whatever reason. It
Right.
is not a third party promoter as we know them.
Correct. It's not, hey,
Just clarified.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That was good to know. Dave, and you are security at the place?
Yeah, good evening, Madam Chair. I'm Dave from True Blue Security.
Okay.
I just-
I'd like to hear a little bit more about the security there, and I'm thrilled you're here.
I just wanted to add to what Mr. Chris was saying regarding the noise complaints and the sound. As far as us monitoring them, we do have sound meters there, and the guards periodically throughout the night go outside the building and they monitor the noise. And whenever that level of noise exceeds on the sound meter, they immediately go in and they instruct the DJ to lower the music volume, specifically, and I reiterate that, specifically the bass, which is what causes a vibration noise throughout the structure of the building and emanates outside of the building. And they have a hands-on approach with this throughout the night, and they report it and they write it down in a logbook that we maintain there for the sound.
Okay, and about
Also-
how many security guards do you have per number of people?
They usually request between 10 and 12 guards.
Okay, and as far as you know, that's the appropriate proportion for the requirement.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
the appropriate, yeah, it's adequate security. We have female searchers, we have male searchers, everybody gets searched thoroughly. They're instructed, all the guards are instructed is search very thoroughly for safety. Everybody will get in. The primary thing here is safety for the club, safety for the patrons, safety for the community. Also, on top of that, we have a patrol that parks right outside.
Okay, you're muted again. Hit the unmute button. Okay, you're on mute, Dave. So can you unmute yourself? Okay, because you went out there on us.
Sorry, I'm
That's
sorry. I
okay.
thought
Oh,
I-
you're back.
Hello.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. What part did you hear?
Okay, you started to say you have a patrol out front.
Yes, there's a patrol that's right directly in front of the club across the street that sits and observes the club all night, and that deters any type of incidents that may occur at all, any arguing, any loud noise and stuff like that. And in addition, we also have the guards at the end of the night. They go out into the middle of the street and they direct traffic. They have traffic vests on that say security, and they try to keep the cars moving so there's no congestion such as double parking and honking of the horn and things like that. We try our best to keep, at the end of the night, to keep the traffic flowing.
Right, and if somebody is overserved or gets ill, do your guys call medical assistance or something like that?
Yes, we have a person who's an EMT. He's also he's security, and he's also an EMT, and he's trained with that. And we also have a fire guard on site at all times. And in addition to that, what we do is we tell the patrons if you need any kind of car service or anything like that, that we also maintain a business card where we have a base that operates for car service, and we call them car service. So everybody gets home safely.
Okay, now Quinella, you have a question. Let's hear from you.
Madam
Oh.
Chair, I just wanted to
Yes.
interject one other quick point that was of
Sure.
concern. I didn't catch the gentleman's name, but they were talking about one person specifically. Hello?
Yes, we're here. We hear you.
Yeah, we were talking about regarding the noise complaints and the people that call up. I can tell you, ma'am, that the ethnic groups that go to the Coco Reef, it's very diverse. They cater to different ethnic backgrounds. And we did have an individual that came to the club I believe she's a resident. I'm almost certain that she's a resident. And we actually have pictures of this woman, and she made comments as to the fact that why we were allowing those type of minority people in the club. Now, we found that to be very offensive. We have her picture and everything, and I know management at some point was trying to seek some type of mediation with her, because that was a very inappropriate comment that the woman made inside the club, and she came in and she reported it to, she had the discussion with my lead security guard there, which is the supervisor that we have on board. So I just want to say, they have a diverse, amount of people that they do cater to. I just wanted to throw that out there so you're aware, Madam Chair.
Yes, well, we have this balancing act here in Astoria, in that we are a much loved neighborhood as well as a site for where people from all over the city come to party. So with the businesses, a large part of their job is making sure that everybody has a good time, but it doesn't spill out all over the place. I think that that's sort of the goal, to keep it all the customers satisfied, but also the residents to, go to bed and things like that. Okay. So Quinella, yes, let's hear from you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm new to the board, Chris. I have a question for you. So your business, you have people can rent your business to have a party?
If somebody says, listen, I'm bringing in 50 guests because they want to do a dinner party or a dinner event, and they want to do that. Of course, if I have the ability to do that in the middle of the week or early on a Friday or a Saturday, and yes, they can tell me ahead of time and they can come and do it. I think it's a very good thing to have, especially when all businesses like this, we have a big venue that we can cater early in the event. I don't
And they bring in their DJ as well?
Yeah, if that's what they wanted to do, yeah, but they would have to go by specifically our rules and regulations for it.
Do you also have to have insurance? Do they have to provide insurance to you if they use your venue?
Well, they should have.
Is that
insurance.
one of your requirements?
If it's depending on the type of event that it is. If you're doing a birthday party and you want to have something for your staff, or like I said before, no, we have insurance. I don't see the need to have additional insurance for that. Because
for a private event, you should be covered, but
right.
If it's something else, then it might not be covered. And I think Evie has another question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to gain some clarity on that. So if someone is renting the space, they're not advertising it to, have people come, kind of public, anybody.
No, it's like if you want to have let's say you want to do a book signing,
Yeah, I'm not really talking about book signings. I'm talking about like big parties and stuff.
Well, some of those we've done events like that. That is a lot of people come and then they stay over and they eat and they have drinks and stuff in the place.
I'm referring more to the events that people are complaining about, the noise complaints and the 911 calls. So like Mayor Gray, is he renting the space?
I'm sorry?
For let's just say, brunch Sundays, right? Which are in the evening. Is that a rental or is that you're doing that yourself?
No, that would be ourselves.
No one else is promoting it.
No one else should be promoting our events. If we have events at the place, it's not a third party person doing it. If we have an event because somebody said, hey, I'm doing my birthday party there, I planned this, you have a big enough venue, this is what we want to do, then we gladly do that. And that's it.
Okay. And what else was I going to ask? So yeah, as I said, going back onto the social media, there do seem to be some people promoting events at your place. So that's up to you to prevent that from happening, because it's not allowed to happen. And if somebody does say that they're coming to your place, then you have to say, no, you can't, that this is not happening. So that's, I think for many of us, the key thing is that people are worried that there are third-party events going on despite the STIPs. And that's sort of like the crux of the matter. So I also wanted to inquire whether you go to the nightlife meetings at the 114th precinct, because those are very useful for business owners to find out what's going on and the best ways, best practices, so to speak.
I have gone in the past. I didn't go in the last, I think the last two ones I haven't gone, but I do go to them, especially right before like big events of summer. The season is changing, Halloween, Memorial Day. They usually have one right before.
Well, we are coming up on summer, so it's best to be prepared the best way you can. So I hope you will continue to reach out to the nightlife committee and find out what's going on, any updates to things, and to basically make sure that you follow your own steps. If you can do that and get everything is by regulation and by, training and everything like that, that's the way to be a great neighbor in this neighborhood.
I agree.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Does anybody else have a question for Chris or about, okay. Is that Officer Tovar?
Go ahead.
Can you, everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I was just gonna say, there's a couple things. One, also, you can track your own 301 complaints and see how many 301 complaints you're getting, and when they come up, you can do that through, the 301 system online, and, the website. Are you familiar with this? Do I have to tell you
No,
what it is?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you can go to, it's called, you ready? I'm gonna tell it to you. Maybe you want to write it down for me? It's gonna be open data .cityofnewyork.us. And when you go there, you can search 301 and you can put in your address and you can see how many complaints and what's going on and what the complaints are. And you can track that. So that way you don't, fall behind, and we don't have, these accumulation of these issues. I'd like for you to please attend our community council meeting. So that way when we have the complaints, you can hear them also. That's on the 4th Tuesday of the month. And we have that at Astoria World Manor. And actually, I'd like you to be in touch with my office a little bit more, so I know when you're having events or anything, so I can keep track of those, and that way we can prepare and help you prepare, so that we don't have these issues going forward. So the nightlife meetings I'd like you to attend. I'd like you to attend the community council meeting, and I'd like you to track these things for us and keep us up to date.
Yes, I think that what we want for the business owners is for them to have all the tools to be able to run their business successfully and not spill over. And I think that the 311 directory is a great idea. And I really, really encourage you to attend these meetings and go over your steps. So,
I do appreciate that. I didn't know about that you can track them online. That is very useful, because if I have a way of, I can speak with the neighbors itself, like once again, and hear them out, then I can gladly address the problem.
Okay. And Evie, do you have something else to add?
Yeah, sorry, just one more question. Did you say that you weren't going to have any live music outside?
That is not something that we have in our calendar to have live music there at all.
Okay, it's checked off. It's checked off on your application, as is the patio or deck.
Yeah, but we're talking about literally like a band or DJs. We're trying to have elevator music, that we have specific speakers and spaces that doesn't go over a certain decibel. Not necessarily to be a live event, a band, or a huge DJ with speakers and stuff. We were aware of what transpired last summer, so we didn't put that in the calendar at all.
Well, I'm just saying it's on the application.
You're right, but it's not something that we're planning towards, because if you have live music there, or if you have music in the back, I want to make sure that it's not necessarily a DJ or something, not a DJ, just a regular flowing of music, elevator music, nothing live. But if you have somebody that's making a presentation, or one that has to talk, I want them to be able to do so, because people do that outside in the summer if they're doing presentations, and because it happens if they need to rent the space out by themselves.
Okay, and Florence, did you have something that you wanted to add?
Officer Tovar covered the fact of the 114th Community Affairs Committee meeting, also constantly keeping in touch with the police to let them know if any events are larger events, and to keep the traffic moving along so that the neighbors don't complain about that. And what Evie spoke about is a part of all of the applications for the bigger establishments. They do click off on the form the bands and things that sort, because as Chris said, they do use the speakers and the microphones. So when they do that, they have to have that clicked off. I just want everybody to know we are a New York City agency, so therefore we're not allowed to base complaints off of social media. People who are on social media complaining need to call the community board office. We cannot rely on people going back and forth on social media. That cannot be part of the process.
Okay, I think that's quite true. Social media can be a useful research tool, but a posting on social media doesn't equal a call to the district office or to 311. Does anybody else have something to say about this particular establishment? Okay, so Chris, I believe that I think we have given you the tools to be able to run your business in a way that is satisfactory for you and also makes you a good neighbor. I really hope you go to the nightlife meetings, go over your steps, and make sure that everybody who is there is aware of what should and should not be done as part of your obligation to the community, both inside the club and outside. Okay? And I'd like to thank you very much for coming out tonight. I think we've covered a lot of ground, and I hope that you got some very good information to take away.
Yes, I did. Thank you very much. You guys have been very kind.
All
Thank
right. I think we may need to circle back because we got ahead of ourselves and now we're behind ourselves. Is there a representative from Emoji Burger here? Who's from Emoji Burger? Oh, it's you, iPhone 13 Pro. Unmute yourself and tell us who you are. Okay. Okay, you went sideways there for a minute. Can we unmute him from this end, Pauline?
No, you're not unmuted. You have to unmute.
Okay, so find where your mute button is and unmute. Sometimes it
I'm
takes.
sending him the message again.
There you go. Whoops.
Disappeared.
Okay. Oh, here he is. iPhone 13 Pro. So if you can, hopefully we can get you to unmute, and then we'll put your name in the name spot.
You have to go to the bottom of your screen or the microphone.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you. Thank you. So
Hello,
please
guys. How are
introduce
you?
yourself.
Hi guys, my name is Jarvis Fern. I am the owner of Emoji Burger in Astoria and Jackson Heights. I want to thank you guys in advance for giving me the opportunity to hear me out. Thank you so much.
Okay. Let's see. So you're a new business, aren't you? Or fairly this location.
Yes.
Okay. And what we're looking at is your application for the Sidewalk Cafe. Can you describe what it's going to be, please?
Yes, the Sidewalk Cafe is gonna be 7 by 24 feet. We're in a corner location. It's gonna have 8 feet clearance on the sidewalk side, which is what the law requires, and there won't be no type of obstruction. It's gonna be metal construction as the city requires it now, 30 inches high. And we're gonna have the entrance from inside of the restaurant as we have sliding windows on that particular corner. And we got approved for 12 seats, which is more than enough due to the fact that we have our restroom in the back of the restaurant, which you have to cross into the kitchen. And according to the health department rules, I have to keep it that way. So that's kind of fair for me. I did buy that business from the ex-owner Burrito Boulevard. And my vision of that particular space was to do an enclosed Sidewalk Cafe, but the new regulation does not allow it. I'm hoping that in the near future, it will change because it does affect my business as my seating inside the restaurant is only 10 seats. So, but we have to be grateful for everything. So I'm grateful if this gets approved and we can move forward and do great business in Astoria.
Okay, this sounds like you've gone through your city rules and regulations for the sidewalk cafe and built it according to those.
Yes.
Okay,
The
and then,
entity did sign stipulations, Madam Chair. We do have
Okay.
stipulations.
and you've read and are aware of those stipulations.
Yes, I did.
Okay. And then in terms of what you're doing there, you're basically serving food you're not a party space or anything.
Not at all. We're a burger place. We don't serve no beer, no wine, anything of that nature. And we want to keep it that way. Our name is Emoji Burgers, like a kid-friendly environment, family-oriented. And that's our focus. We're not looking to do anything else. We close at 10 o'clock at both of our locations, and we're going to keep it that way, 10 p.m.
Okay, this is very useful information. Can I ask if anybody else on the committee has a question for Emoji Burger?
No.
Okay. I think this is pretty straightforward. It's a new application. You followed all the rules for it. You do have STIPs. You're aware of them. You're not serving beer and wine, and you're going to keep the sidewalk cafe to city rules and regulations. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. If there's no more questions, we thank you for your time this evening, and we really appreciate your coming in and giving us the breakdown of what you're doing.
Thank you guys for having me. Okay. It's a pleasure. See you guys soon. Thank you so much.
Soon, yes. I need a new burger place. Okay, so now we're going back in order again, and we would like to know if there was someone here from Milo 34 Corp. Doing business as Animos.
Michael Kelly, representing the applicant.
Okay.
And Michael Miltalvo's here. He's the owner.
Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
If I can go through a short presentation, describe what's going on a little bit.
Yes, I've heard
appreciate
there's
that.
some changes, so we would like to hear about them.
Okay, so the applicant has had an on-premise liquor license at this location for a restaurant since 2018. The restaurant went into decline during COVID, and he's basically been open on the weekends, mainly Friday, and has survived by doing this. The applicant wants to try to move away from this and become a full-time catering establishment for weddings, engagement parties, corporate events, and similar type of occasion event. He would have DJs, live music, dancing for the wedding type functions. The Friday night events that he's been having have been problematic, and the applicant has attended the 114 nightlife meetings. He believes the new way of operating can save the business if and once it takes off. The premise currently has an occupancy of 61 tables, 184 seats, and a 12-seat bar. The C of O allows for an occupancy of 223, so he's with that. Michael will be devoting most of his time and energy to hopefully making this location a successful catering hall. And we would welcome any questions. We know there will be.
Yes. Well, one of the things I do remember is that a couple of years ago, when Animos came in, there were a lot of complaints. So I'm hoping that this new business model, if it is followed, will be the sort of thing that makes it a better neighbor. So I would love to hear from the police about any recent complaints that have happened for Animos.
How you doing, Lieutenant Dixon, 114. So Animos has 13 311 calls year to date, 11 of them for noise, 2 for parking, and they have 2 911 calls. They did have a bit of an issue though. Was it a couple months ago where they did take a shooting at the location? Again, it was the one incident. They hadn't had one in, I would say, probably about a year prior to that. They do have a bit of a parking issue there where it gets a little crowded at times. But their 311 is good. Again, they did have, and I have been in contact with the owner and the management ever since they had the shooting. They were very cooperative with me. They did go to our nightlife meeting that we just had last month. They attended. That's what I got on Animos.
Okay, so I'm sure there are going to be a lot of questions, and I will have one or two myself, but are there members of the committee who have a question for Mike or for Michael? Okay, one of the things I'm curious about is, since it's going to be an event / catering hall, I'd like to see, we have the steps that say there are no third-party promoters to be allowed, and I think we need to know that's going to be followed, even if the event business slows down a little bit, because that's basically the source of the trouble that we have, that this place has had in its past existence. So if either Mr. Kelly or Mr. Animos would care to comment on that. And then we have questions from Nas and Evie.
Mike, that's a question for you.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, unfortunately, yes, you're absolutely right. That was the route that we got right after COVID, just because the events, as a private events, they slow down. And even for now, we're trying to promote it mostly with this, but we see then, you know, with the demand that we don't have so many. And unfortunately, yes, again, we took that route. Obviously, we want to stay in business and we want to cooperate, and we want to do whatever it takes just to follow the rules and under our legal license to stay in business. So the reason we had, again, those parties on Fridays, and we still have them, is just to keep us afloat, and that was the only reason that we stay in business, because of those parties. But again,
so the Friday parties are going to go away?
If we have to, absolutely, we're going to turn them down. Yes, even if it's to be honest, if it's the main source of the income right now, just because of the private events are pretty slow, just because of the economy, because of the period, as we all know.
Okay.
Even for those private, I mean, those Friday nights, yes, we started, and like the officer said, about a year and so ago, it was crowded. We did everything that we could. We've been very cooperative as far as the customers that we cut maybe 50% down. We had the problems with the valet. We stopped the valet because of the commotion, that everybody comes and leave at once. We increased the number of securities, which is, according to the law, it's every 75 person, and we have about 14 to 16 securities there just to control the traffic, the parking, and everything. We also faced issues by having cones, keeping parking spaces. We're trying to do everything, whatever it takes, to keep caring about the neighbors, because obviously we care about the neighbors to have a good relationship, because we own other businesses in Asturias and we know how things are. We try to keep everything in control, and we do whatever it takes as far as expense, as far as everything. So, but again, if at the end of the day those parties put in jeopardy the whole business, then we have to do what we have to do.
Okay, that's an answer. And Nas, let's hear from you. You've been asking some good questions.
Thanks. Again, broad strokes, and with while acknowledging something that was mentioned earlier, yes, social media complaints are not 311s. And I personally tell people in the community that if they have an issue with the spot, like, hey, don't just complain on social media, like, let Florence know. She's the one to handle this. And then that goes through official channels, and it's the best and most effective way. That said, much like Coco Larev, Animos is similarly one of the most recurring problem neighbors in terms of what you're seeing happening out there anecdotally. And to add, it's not just 2-3 people who have some kind of grudge or particular problem with Animos. It's many individuals, and from some of the threads that I've seen over the years, there have allegedly been meetings between the community members complaining and NYPD and Animos. And it has even been expressed in those conversations that nothing has improved. And with regards to the valet service in particular, since that was brought up, like, still cars on sidewalks that are getting valeted on sidewalks is a thing that has happened up until very recently. So while, yeah, we can certainly appreciate the owners coming here and saying that they're trying their best, I think the community is seeing something very different or not seeing enough changes. And this particular stuff with Animals has become kind of a feud as far as we've seen anecdotally, but there are definitely official reports of a lot of issues here.
Okay, that actually does bring it around to the fact that changing to a catering and event-based model could be a very good thing, but we just don't know if that's going to happen and if the continued parties that caused the trouble will be going on. That I think it might be the crux of the matter for us. Effie, please ask your question. You're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm a little confused about the change in the type of license because it seems like you've been functioning in that way anyway. As a catering, as a party hall, you know, it seems like these Friday night things are being promoted by other people and not you. And so I'm skeptical that somehow by changing what the license is called, that's going to get better, especially since many complaints have been within the past 2 months, and certainly the serious incident was just 2 months ago. So I'm not really seeing, to me, it looks like you've already been doing this stuff and now, okay, we're going to change the license. I don't know if that kind of wipes the slate clean in some way. But to me, I'm not really comforted because I actually know lots of people who live in that area and it's a constant problem. And they feel like they've complained 311, they've called 311, they've talked to the 114th, they say that they've called the community board office and all that, and they just don't see anything improving and it's still bad for them. So that is my concern with this.
Okay, can you address that, please, Mr. Animos?
Yes. I'm sorry?
Can you talk a little bit about Evie's concerns about how what real change will take place? Because the Fridays are still going on and there's still a lot of dissatisfaction in the neighborhood with noise and other significant issues, including valet parking.
Going back to the gentleman, just because he noticed that we still do valet, we don't do valet. We don't do valet for more than a year and a half probably. So it's just a note on that. About the noise kind of thing, it's mostly, yes, when people are leaving. So, and even that we calm it down, and there is, as a result, we've seen that the calls to the 311 is probably 2 or 3 calls. And actually, even before were from specific to people at the neighborhood, which apparently the one moved out. About the incident that it happened, unfortunately, it was a fight, and it happened what it happened. But I just want to mention something, that even those incidents happen on 30th Avenue, that I've seen those things for 21 years here at my other business at Avenue. It was a shooting last Mother's Day last year on 30th Avenue. There are so many other incidents that we hear in Astoria and outside Astoria. Obviously, and of course, we're doing our best to keep everything away from our neighborhood. That's for sure. But you know, sometimes whatever you do, unfortunately stuff happens. And again, I mean, we're trying to whatever it takes to be good for the neighbor, to give the best, you know, for everybody, keep the jobs alive and keep the peace in the neighborhood.
Okay.
We cooperate with the 114. We attend everything. We follow any rules that any guidelines that they give us. And again, without few of these things, I'm sorry, but we can stay in business like all these businesses are closing every day in Astoria, and they're going to be even worse just because things are like that. And it's very hard for any small business to stay afloat in this kind of situations.
We know, and we would like to help you in any way we can, as long as it means for making a good neighbor. So we now have a question or a response from NYPD, then Marie, then Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't minimize the situation by blaming it on other people. Like, you had two people shot inside your club. Someone went inside with a firearm, and then another woman was trampled in the chaos. I've been in SWL now for a year and a half. I was a Midnight Platoon commander for a year before that. I want to say the only time I've had a shooting inside a club was Acapulco that I mentioned earlier that is closed. So I don't think that we can minimize the security problem that you had with that incident by blaming it on saying things happen on 30th Avenue or elsewhere. I absolutely take shootings from my clubs all over Astoria, but with the fact that it was inside, that is not something that occurs regularly. So let's not minimize that incident, please.
I'm not. I'm sorry, with all due respect, I'm not. As a matter of fact, I personally fired the whole security company. I've seen things after, and I had major meetings with everybody for the week after, and I took it very seriously. I fired the whole security company. We bought more stuff for security purposes, and I was really upset just because things didn't go the right way. And again, I apologize on behalf of everybody, and I'm not trying to minimize. God forbid, if it was like this, I mean, obviously, I can't even think and say to myself what exactly happened. I'm not accepting it for our image, for anything that we're trying to do for 22 years in Astoria. Absolutely.
Yeah, and again, I'm also going to go. I was there that night, and I didn't get a 911 call from your establishment for that. Again, two people shot, a woman with a terribly broken leg from getting trampled, and I got no 911 call from your establishment. So on my end, that is absolutely unacceptable. So yeah, like, some changes need to be made with security, and I'm glad that you're making them. And again, I do give you credit for showing up to the nightlife meeting, where obviously it invited you after this incident that you attended last month. And I have been in contact with your management and they've let me know some of the changes that they made. So I'm not saying you haven't made changes, but like I said, like, this is when I said earlier about 911 jobs that don't jump off the page, this one jumps off the page.
Okay, thank you. We really appreciate that input. Marie? Oh, unmute yourself.
Thank you. Based on what the precinct just said, how did somebody get in there with a firearm? So you had absolutely no security at the door. You had no metal detectors. You didn't have a security guard. And why didn't you call 911?
About the 911 was a complete mistake from my managers, and I spoke about that. About the rest of the security things, we do have 2 metal detectors, and unfortunately, that's why I was very upset that night. The security company didn't use them for absolutely no reason, and there is no excuse. So, and that was one of the main reasons that I fired them the next day. We do have 2 of them, and we do have scanner IDs that they didn't use again. Why? Their excuse was, oh, we lost it during the fight, which it was unacceptable. And
they lost what during the fight? I'm sorry, they lost what?
I'm sorry?
What did they lose during the fight?
They lost the ID scanners. When
it was a little too late then, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it? How did they get in there in the first place? It's that. So what kind of changes have you made to your security now, so that would not occur again?
Absolutely. With the security company, I sat down in person with the contract. I hired more. I put more security guards on that night, and then we have about 16 and 2 in the street doing traffic. I mean, again, the more I think about the incident, the more, because again, right now, instead of trying to find the steps and, with the business and trying to put it on track, I'm facing 7 or 8 lawsuits. Let's say the girl, which she got trampled, I got another 4 of the friends. Even if the EMT came over, they open a lawsuit. So I'm facing 7 or 8 right now, lawsuits from different people, which, I mean, again, it's something that I'm facing for the past 2 months, and I don't know for how long, and I don't know how much I can afford to go through that.
Okay. Well,
I have another question, Kathleen,
Okay,
if you don't
please.
mind.
ahead.
Also, you say this is now going to be a catering venue. Have you thought about where your clients or customers will be parking? Because that seems to be a big issue. I mean, a catering venue really denotes big functions with a lot of people. Where are they parking?
The parking, we've never, for the first 2 years, actually, in every kind of event besides that specific party, because everybody comes at once and live together, we do have the parking diagonal on 41st Street at the corner. It's a building that they have an underground parking which fits about 70 to 80 cars for animals. So the valet people take the car and park it on the building, on the parking there. So we've been doing that for the last 3 years. We never had any issues, just because the private events, it's during the day, it's not so many people. People come in order, so we never face any issues. So the valet, we do have a solution with the valet party that we'll be dealing.
Thank you.
Okay. Nas?
Hi, just a quick response to the valet thing. So while, and again, I'm not saying, anecdotes aren't data, but there are very detailed stories about not necessarily a valet service, but alleged staff that was telling public that were setting out cones on the public street to reserve spots for patrons, and members of the public trying to park their car, having altercations with whoever these employees are, whether they're valet service employees or Animos employees. And there were even a couple of stories that NYPD was called and an officer showed up to de-escalate the situation. So again, take it with a grain of salt. I don't know that Florence received any particular complaint in that vein, but doesn't pass the smell test. Yes, they may be trying everything they are trying to say they're trying to do, but it's not seems to be going on in practice.
Okay. Thomas, did you still have a question or a comment? Thomas Wright? Okay. I guess he's satisfied with what he's heard. So, okay, I'd like.
Well, I actually just couldn't find my mute button. I'm sorry.
Okay, Thomas, go ahead.
On my cell phone. I wanted to commend the officer from the precinct. I think he did an excellent job. What we're hearing is a balance between safety and profit. And I have to say, based on some of the things that I've heard, no metal detectors being used, no call to 911. I hate to say it, but those are all grounds for successful lawsuits. What I do think we have to hear more of is a balance of safety in these situations. And I appreciate the fact that the Madam Chair says we want to make sure people have things to do that don't spill out. It seems like what we're dealing with here is not something spilling out, but what exactly is going on in this club? My major 2 questions are, 1, how is the Friday party being promoted? First question. And 2, why is there being requested a change in the license? What has precipitated the request for the change at this point?
Can I jump in about the change?
Mr.
So,
Kelly?
yeah, so
Yes.
Mike called me around April 10th, told me about the shooting and how he wanted to try to get away from the Friday nights, but still run a catering hall. So the only suggestion was to get a catering hall license, try to get away from this Friday thing, have weddings, have corporate events. And I also reiterated to him that having these Friday night parties would deter people from having a wedding there. Because if I heard about a shooting at a location, I'm not gonna have my wedding there. So I talked to him about getting away from these Friday night things as soon as possible. So hopefully his catering part will pick up and he can do that.
And who's promoting the Friday night parties? How are they being promoted?
Mike?
There are two, I don't know, there are two promotional managers that they work for us on specific nights that they're promoting those. And that's the way they've been promoted.
Do they receive a commission?
No. They're on an allowance, on a pay. They get paid, not the commission.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for those questions. Evie? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, I keep doing that. I lower my hand and then I forget to unmute myself. When was the last Friday night club party?
Last Friday.
Okay, so just last week.
Yes.
So you're still doing them?
Yes.
I thought you had already moved away from them. Okay, so they're still going on even though there's been all these issues. And have calls and complaints come into the district office as well? I'm just curious to know.
Lawrence? Unmute.
Yeah, my mouse wouldn't move. I believe we had one.
Have there been regular complaints about the Friday night parties?
No, we have not had a lot of complaints about the Friday night parties. We were notified after the interior shooting happened, and we since then had one complaint a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week ago actually, and then one this past week.
Okay.
Very minimal compared to other places, very minimal.
Okay, I think sort of the direction of the conversation is that nobody minds an event and catering hall. What the board and the community are most concerned about are the Friday parties. So we will leave you with that, and also with the feedback of the officers who found that it was not a good situation when the shooting took place. So I thank you for coming in, Mr. Kelly. I thank you for coming in, and I hope that you both.
Thank you.
Oh, sure. Oh, wait, Florence has another thing.
I'd like to put it on the record. It would be very good if they were to keep in constant contact for the next 6 months with the 114th precinct. It would be very good if they went to the 114th Community Council, and if for the next couple of nightlife meetings, even though they're changing their model to a catering hall, it would be beneficial just for them to brush up and go to the nightlife meetings, which are quarterly, at least 2 of them. If it could go on the record, Madam Chair.
I think that's an excellent suggestion, and we will put it in the record, and I hope that Mr. Animos will do that. Okay, anybody else have any last words about this particular venue? Okay, thank you very much for both your time, Mr. Kelly, Mr.
Thank
Animos.
you for your time.
Okay, and we appreciate you coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, we have gotten through the liquor applications, and we are moving on now to Cesar Grandes, doing business as Big Flavor Entertainment Corporation, which is a marijuana dispensary. And I'm going to pull up, because I have it on my screen and it wouldn't print out, the actual copy of the application. Now, since this is my first time through, I'm going to be asking some very basic questions, and I'm assuming Mr. Grandes, how do you do?
How you doing, everybody?
We'll be here to answer them. Okay.
Problem.
So I'm going through this. So this is going to be a new retail dispensary premise, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, on Steinway Street, 3262.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to scroll down a little bit more and going through this is your first time applying for a license, correct?
Yes.
Great. And then I also would like to know, so you're going to be selling vape, oil, gummies, aka candy, and buds, aka flowers?
Yeah, anything that the legal cannabis license gives us permission to sell. There
And-
were, yeah, we have the guidance.
Good. Okay, and you're the sole proprietor of the business.
Yes, 100% owner of the shares.
Okay, now you are not going to have armed security guards.
Not at the moment. No, we just have one. But if we will need to, then we will have. I guess when it gets
Okay,
big.
but you will have security guards on
No, we
premise?
will definitely have security guards. Yeah, we definitely, yeah. We have a lot of work.
And will you also have security cameras?
Oh, yes, we have a state-of-the-art location that Dasney has built with for us. It's a Dasney fund, and they cut no corners. They do everything online, so everything is compliance.
Great. And are you located within 500 feet of 2 or more cannabis establishments, which in Astoria these days is very easy to have happen?
No, not any legal ones.
Okay. And so do you own or rent the building that you're going to be in?
Well, Dasney is the master lease.
Mhm.
I'll be subleasing from Dasney.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I'm just going down here a little more. I see in your application, you've noted that you are 1,500 feet from the closest school. There are no daycares, rehabilitation centers, or hospitals around for over a mile radius. And the closest legal dispensary to you is over 2,000 feet away. So all those things are from the, can you just confirm that all of those are
Yes,
from
correct.
the application?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. There's a nice map here of what you're going to have, and you've got your, your design is laid out. So, and the other thing that they actually ask is, are you willing to hire local for your help?
Oh, yeah, that's all I'm gonna hire.
Okay.
So most of my people are gonna be from here. I got a lot of people that I know from. I was raised in Jackson Heights, and I've been to Astoria my whole life. So I know a lot of people from the neighborhood.
All
They're
right, so I've just answered sort of the outline of the application you filled out, and I see right now that Thomas has a question, and please go ahead.
How you doing, Thomas?
How are you?
Fine, Thomas here.
Good, thank you. Can you describe your relationship with Dasney that holds the master lease? Am I
Well,
pronouncing it right? Dasney, D-A-S?
yeah, Dasney. Well, they work with the OCM to provide us with locations. They fund the location, they build it out for us and everything. I don't come out of the pocket and everything. You know, so they work with the SCSC, which they take care of everything, and they give me
I'm
guidance.
so sorry. I'm very bad at acronyms.
Yeah.
So what's the SCSC?
It's the Social Equity Servicing Corporation.
Okay, and what's DASNY stand for?
Dasney is the
Dormitory Authority for the State
Yeah.
of New York.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so you entered into a lease.
Dasney, yeah, Dasney had picked me. They picked people out of who was like have the car license, you know, and who are
Yeah?
yeah. So they pick. I'm so lucky that they picked me. It's like, you know, I'm blessed right now. What's happening?
Why
And
did they pick you?
because I'm a car member, car licensee, and I've been already a year. We've been a year. We've been through injunction and everything, and my requirements match the needs of the store. And, but they go by points and stuff like how long your business been on, what you doing, and stuff like that. And
How long has your business been on?
It's been on for 10 years. 10 years. Mhm.
Thank you.
And now from NYPD, I believe there's a comment or question.
Yeah, I have a quick question. I may have missed it. Your security plan. I know you said no, you're not gonna have armed security, but you have state-of-the-art cameras. What is your actual security plan though? Because obviously on my end, we deal with a lot of I know shops that are open now aren't really legal, but like a lot of robbery, you know, especially
Yeah, of course, yeah, no. We have a front door that you will get buzzed in, then you'll see the security guard. After that, there's another door that you'll get buzzed in by the security guard after he checks your ID and make sure that you're sober or that you're, any problems. And then on that same area is a waiting area that if the main floor is full, we'll have people waiting there. in the main area until it's returned to come in, where they'll be handed a tablet where they could like just order online, you know, on the website. And then they'll come in, pick up the order, leave. And yeah, and everything's gonna be connected to the OCM, and the security cameras will be connected to the company. That'll be basically on the business hours. They'll be looking at the camera and making sure if anything happens, they'll call the police in or do whatever they have to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you recommend that the owners of dispensaries attend the nightlife meetings, or are there going to be meetings for dispensaries at the 114?
I can't, I don't know if there's going to be meetings for dispensaries. I don't really see a need for them to go to the nightlife meetings. It's really, those nightlife meetings are really more for, you know, like the nightclubs and how to prevent, like, you know, instances talked about from happening. So, I mean, in his business, I really can't see a need for the nightlife meeting. Council meeting would always be good, but just to, like, you know, stay in touch with the community, but nightlife.
Okay, okay, thank you. And Marie, you have a question? Unmute.
Yes, I have a couple of questions. That's a huge space. Will you be using all 3 floors there?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, we're only using 4,500 square feet, which is the ground level.
Just the ground, not the
Yeah, just the
basement?
ground
Not,
level, yeah. No,
not,
not the basement, no, the basement, no, just the ground level.
and not the second floor?
No,
Is that being blocked off?
The second floor has their own entrance, which
Okay.
to OSHA. I think OSHA's there.
Okay, this is a very congested area. As you might know, there's a subway station, they have buses. In general, a lot of pedestrians. How will you handle lines outside, if there are any?
Like I was commenting to the chief, at the entrance, when you get to the front door, there's a waiting area there that's large enough. I send you guys a little map there. I mean, a little layout. But you'll have some couches there, and it's pretty big.
So nobody will be waiting outside?
Oh, no, nobody will be outside, no.
Okay, so you'll have security guards at the door, I'm assuming, once they're inside?
You'll be
Not-
sitting right in front of the front door, so he'll even be looking at you before you even come inside the building. So and then once he sees you, he'll buzz you in, and then you have to scan your ID. Well, everything will be recorded. Your ID will be recorded through Dutchie, and everything will be on file. So already there, so yeah.
Yeah, and finally, about a year ago, maybe 6 months ago, we had another applicant for that same location.
Okay.
Do you have any connection to them?
No, I don't know. I don't really know, but they
No, you're brand new. You're not
Yeah.
connected to anyone else who has applied to this location.
No. I'm not.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kathleen.
Okay,
Okay.
anyone else have any questions about this dispensary, its location? Any questions for the owner manager or anything else that's about this business? Okay, looks good. I'm very glad that you.
Kathleen, through the
Yes.
chair. Madam Chair, we had 2 applications for the same exact address. This used to be Lucille Roberts many years ago.
Yeah.
The reason that we had, and he's the 3rd gentleman to apply, is because you have to be a card member in order to go for this location. Anybody, any other individual who might win the lottery, if they are not a card member, could not go for the Dasney site.
Correct.
Okay, so there are a lot of roads to go down to qualify for this particular spot, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, I really appreciate your time today. I appreciate your well-filled out form, which made me sound smart when I asked you questions. And thank you. Okay, anybody else? Thanks very much for your time this evening. We really appreciate it.
All right, thank you guys. Hopefully we work together in the future, and I'll be here to help you guys out and answer any questions at any time. Don't worry about it, all right?
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye. All right. Okay, so now it's just us at the moment, and because we are on Zoom, there can't be any vote taken. Florence had suggested that perhaps we do a short breakout meeting before the next full meeting, because I think there might be some discussion about this. I mean, I think that overall we got good response, good feedback from several of the people we talked to tonight, but there might also be some additional worry about a couple of the places.
We can
So,
still discuss it. We can discuss
okay.
it now. It's,
All right.
we can't vote on anything, but we can
Okay.
certainly talk about it and people express what they feel. Also, aren't we supposed to just look at the other liquor license?
Oh, yes, everybody got in their package, thank you for the packages, Florence, a list of the other, see, I'm going through my package now, of the other places that are going for new or renewed liquor licenses. And since everybody here is a local, whether you want to look through it and whether you want to make any comment about the people, or if you want to bring them in. The list here, the May 2024 liquor licenses, and we have probably close to 24 of them, starting with an Authentic Ponchian House, DBA as Ponchian Society something that I can't pronounce, and running down through to Arcane Group Incorporated, the Standard Cafe by somebody events. My eyes are just gone since my cataract surgery, so you can fill in the other one. So of this list of people, if you've had a chance to go over it and you know of anybody that you think we need to question or to bring in, that's a very important thing. If it's places that have complaints or problems, please bring those up. And Florence, since you are, you've got your pulse on the city, are there any places on this list that we should be looking at a little harder?
No, none of them. The only two that had any necessity were called in, and if any complaints were had, you would have had a phone call from me regarding them. The rest of the establishments are no problem at this time. People did not call the office and the police did not give us negative numbers.
Okay, that's good. And the ones who are renewing all have STIPs, right?
No, that's not necessarily true. I don't have my chart open. If it's a simple restaurant, they don't have STIPs. It's if they have, a nightlife edge to them, for the best way to describe it.
Your basic restaurant.
Cafe.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a regular burger joint, no, it's not going to have STIPs. If it's a diner type, it's not going to have STIPs. If it's a tablecloth restaurant like La Contra, it's not going to have STIPs.
Okay, great. All right, does anybody have anything to add about these additional May applications, the 20 or so? Looks like they all seem to be people who don't make trouble, which is what we like around here. And let's see, do we want to discuss the problematic people for a little bit? Because I felt very conflicted about both Animos and Coco La Rev. What do people think in general? Because I know how I would vote, but I want to hear your feelings as we, yeah. Anyone feel free to chime in.
Oh, should I raise my hand or can I chime in? But I'm fearful that I will
Whatever
be.
you want. I mean, I see your hand on the screen when you raise it. As long as 2 or 3 people don't start talking at once. Yes, please, Thomas.
Certainly, Coco La Rev, the gentleman speaking, continued to walk right to the line on everything that he was representing to us and did not present as truthful. Simply based on that and the extreme amount of complaints, I think he would really have to provide more information. I would be interested to look at the logs to give him the benefit of the doubt. I am oftentimes unswayed by just data coming on how many people called. I would like to know what actions were taken after those calls. If those calls were found to be valid in a way, or if they were actionable by the police department, if there was some type of enforcement measure taken, if there are other complaints before the liquor authority. So just the number of phone calls as itself is not a statistic that really I very much would be persuaded by. However, his answers evinced to me so much worry because he almost seemed dismissive, especially when he asked our district manager if she were correct and if knowing now that we know he had not reviewed the stipulations, it gave cause for worry. Certainly, I would be concerned about that and would like to see additional data on exactly what the calls were, what they were relayed to. I would like to see if they are indeed measuring and keeping a record book of the noise, as he said they were. But then when we got to Animos, I was shocked that Animos still had a liquor license, knowing that there had been a shooting inside, that despite the fact that there are magnetometers, they were not used, that 911 was not called after 2 people had been shot. I don't know if things get any worse than that. Certainly, I can imagine that he's facing lawsuits, but based on what he said, if they and taking it all as truthful, those lawsuits are very well grounded. So I at first thought that Coco, whatever, was concerning until we got to Animos, where I was gobsmacked by the amount of justifications he gave between the necessity of doing what he's doing and making money and keeping the doors open. I was just shocked. And that's my 2 cents. So I believe you can see where I would vote.
Yeah, Jean Marie. Oh, unmute yourself.
I kind of agree with Tom. He brought up 2 very good points. And also with Animos, I'm very concerned that just last Friday, he said he still had a Friday night gig there. And, you know, that already he knew was problematic, and he still had it just last week. I mean, he didn't seem that sincere to me that he's really doing whatever he can to eliminate problems. That's just my feelings on it.
Well, it's good to people who have been around for a while, you go with your gut because frequently you sense things. Marie?
I agree with Tom and Jean Marie. And also, I didn't like the fact that he went to 30th Avenue. There's problems there too. I mean, I don't know that anybody had a shooting of that magnitude on 30th Avenue, plus compounded by the fact nobody called 911.
That's just crazy.
I mean, it's just crazy. You know, the metal detector wasn't working. The security guards weren't working. The scanners weren't working. Even after the fight. Well, isn't that a little too late to be using the scanner, number one? And now he's going to a wedding venue. Well, I wouldn't have a wedding there. I mean,
yeah,
I don't think they're sincere. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, well, we made it clear that the Friday nights needed to go away, and I do not believe that he intends to make the Friday nights go away.
No, not until, no.
Yeah.
He's still employing 2 people who are marketing his Friday nights. 2 staff members. I don't believe. I don't know.
And that's not a promoter, Tom. Just to be clear.
Right. Not
That's
a promoter.
No.
Yeah, Stella. Well, let's hear from you. Unmute.
Yeah, I agree with what you all said. First of all, with Animos, 3 people getting hurt is very serious. And just coming up here is because he's stuck. That's why they came here. There's no real responsibility being taken care of. And I remember in the past, we've had similar places when there was a problem, and then they try to change the venue or the name. But again, the problems continue because it depends on the owner. And so far, they haven't proven that they have been responsible. I mean, this is really serious. A shooting and 3 people getting hurt in our community, that is really too serious. And I don't think changing the venue is going to become more responsible from what I heard. And then as for the other person, Coco, that complains or trying to pass the responsibility to maybe chronic people calling in, etc. That seems to be a classic when they try not to take so much responsibility. I think even one complaint by a resident, it's serious enough. When people complain, if it's not anonymous, it is serious. They're taking the time because people don't usually like to go through all this bureaucracy to file a complaint. And I don't think they're being responsible enough. And I think if they're guests in our community, we have to also be responsible, how we support people to be part of us. They really have to try harder. So far, they've been making light of it. And Coco, maybe it's just a situation where things are going to get worse. I'm not sure. It hasn't gotten there yet. Hopefully may never get there if it continues, but it doesn't seem to be so trustworthy.
Yeah. Okay. Evie, then Florence.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. I find both places problematic. With Animos, the complaints go back over 2 years since they, so it's not anything that's new. It just kind of resurfaced. And again, people who live in that neighborhood, and I know many people, it's not that far from where I live, basically have said they've just given up in terms of complaining about it. They feel it does no good. And that's also why sometimes you can't just go by the number of calls that we get, because people really feel like nothing gets changed or done. There's plenty of places in Astoria that don't have these problems. You know what I mean? So I think we need to kind of keep that in mind. There's lots. We have, a plethora of places, and there's no issues there. And most catering halls that I know don't have metal detectors. So why do you have to have metal detectors in the first place? Because that's not really what you're doing. So, I find both of them to be very problematic and, a problem for the community, which I'm not confident is going to get any better.
Well, my thought was even as an event or catering hall, he could still bring in third-party promoters and say, oh, no, it's an event. Somebody rented it from us. So that seems like it could immediately go to a difficult place. Florence?
Thank you all for your wonderful comments. I would say Coco Lerev has been a genuine problem for a very long time. We have universal stipulations, and the universal stipulations have been our saving grace with the State Liquor Authority. The State Liquor Authority respects our board very much. And when you have advertised events where your staff is not allowed to wear certain attire and you do it, or that your staff is not allowed to be dancing and you do it, or you have pyrotechnics inside an establishment, I'm going to tell you, I've called the FDNY, I've sent the health department, I've sent DEP, the police. I am not in strong support of the type of business model that Coco Lerev is running. I think that you all articulated it very clearly. Animos, I think it was a victim of COVID, but something bigger happened recently that has to be paid very special attention to. And how you debate it is going to be very important.
Okay. Anyone else like to comment? All right. So since we can't do a vote, I would like to get a feel for the for the committee. And I was thinking in terms of, I don't know that anybody really had a problem with the majority of the places we talked to tonight. And the only problematic ones were the ones we've just talked about, Coco Lerev and Animos. So if we were to make a recommendation to the full board, would perhaps we recommend that their licenses not be granted or renewed? Anyone?
I would take the position that their licenses not be renewed based on what we've heard tonight, with leave to reapply with additional information that would help me get more comfortable. A shooting is I agree that, and I understand and I appreciate that Florence says we have to be careful in the way we address Animos, and because certainly I believe he indeed did try his best efforts to save his business, but in doing so, he neglected responsibilities for safety, and continues to do so to the tune of employing 2 promoters for Friday night parties, which are problematic. I would give him some type of leave to reapply with instruction, and additionally, with Coco Le Rev, I think that they also, I would not support their application. And I would support, Madam Chair, if you were to tell the board that. Not being the vote, since we can't vote.
Yeah. Nas, what do you think?
I just wanted to point out, because I maybe it was easy to miss, but I mean, the fact that, I mean, I think both parties at this point were either dismissive or making excuses, or even openly kind of unaware that they were admitting to deliberately doing infractions. Like, you can look at Coco Le Rev's Instagram and they're doing most of the stuff that Florence confirmed is in their stipulations. And even the gentleman from Animos said, yeah, I knew I wasn't supposed to be doing the Friday parties, but I did what I had to do to survive. So like, I mean, I don't know that he's guaranteed to allowed to have a business that is functional, even if that means violating laws that he's supposed to be following. Like, I'm personally don't think that's appropriate. Just my 2 cents on that.
Okay, thank you. And Stella?
I think both of them, they have not proven that they've taken a sufficient, even basic responsibility for us to allow them to continue, because it would not be fair to the community. And even with Animos, like what you're saying, the problem, okay, it's recent and he's going to change, but again, it's too serious, I think, for what happened. I mean, even if one person got hurt from the shooting, it would have been serious, but 3 of them, that was too extreme. It's like, it's not the kind of thing that the community easily forgets, or that we can easily kind of let go or give another opportunity to. It's a situation that I'm sure was building up, and it just blew up. And as for the other one, I think there was too much dismissive. He didn't even read his actual stipulations, and he was trying to check with Florence. Again, that doesn't sound like somebody who's really serious. They're not taking us seriously, the community seriously now in the beginning, till they get caught, and then they come here, and then we hear they promise us the world. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. So far, a trust has been violated in our community, and the spaces in our community are highly competitive right now and lucrative. We have people competing to get the spaces to get business going. So whoever gets the business in our community should feel privileged and be appreciative for being part of our community. Not, just being dismissive because they're going to make more money going in this direction.
Yeah, well, as Evie pointed out, there are clubs that do very well and they follow the steps and they don't get in trouble.
Yes.
Yes, Marie?
I agree with what's been said. I also think that it sends a signal to those businesses who might be thinking of hiring outside promoters that we're taking that seriously and we won't put up with it. And also it sends a signal to the community that we do in fact care and we're listening to their concerns.
I agree there. Okay.
Can I pose a question?
Yes.
Coco Le Rev, if I were going to rate them, like F, Coco Le Rev, if I were going to rate Animo, it would be a little bit more than an F. Animos, I should say. Is there any way that we only vote up or down, correct, on either you get it or you don't?
Well, this is our recommendation. State Liquor Authority still makes the ultimate decision. Is that correct, Florence?
Technically, our job is to review the application, make sure all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed. And then if there is a drain on police resources and we can prove that there's a drain on police resources, that's the factor that matters the most. We do not approve any license ever. We only are responsible for the review process of the New York State Liquor Authority license. We are only responsible for the cannabis renew license and the street sidewalk license right now. We just review them. We do not actually have a vote or in the fact whether or not they get them.
But our review is
our recommendations are highly respected, though.
Yes. Okay, Quinella.
I'm a little confused by Coca-Cola Revs and also by Animos, because I guess they're both supposed to be like the same business currently, right? They're both bars.
Well, they're both clubs, and Animos wants to be a catering hall. That's why they're changing their application, and Coca-Cola Rev is applying for a renewal of their liquor license.
Right, but isn't Coca-Cola Rev already acting like a catering hall? Aren't they doing that type of business currently? No,
he rents it for events. That's what he said when we talked to him.
Right, but I mean, I get what people are saying about Coca-Cola Rev, but I think if this guy knows the direction he should go in with his business, I think he can improve, because he's not like the other guy. He didn't have any shootings. His complaints are noise complaints mostly. But I think if he gets a better direction, maybe. No, Florence?
I'm not saying no. It's complex because the historic knowledge on the site is very important. The number of complaints and the impact on the quality of life for the residents of Astoria, Long Island City is far greater to Coca-Cola Rev. I'm not saying don't vote for the license or vote for the license. I'm saying I didn't agree with what you said. The impact from Coca-Cola Rev is greater than the impact from Animos, but Animos had a crime.
No, I understand that. But what I'm saying is the suggestions that we gave him tonight, the suggestions that the police gave him tonight, wouldn't you think that if he went along with those things, maybe things can get better?
I can't say that I'm not a board member. I can't answer that question because I'm not a member of the
give
board.
you the tools. Use the tools, because there
Right,
are
if you
tools
use
for
the
them to
tools,
be
right,
good
right.
neighborhood members. And
right,
I'm not sure that Chris was amenable to that. And Mr. Animos made it clear he's going to keep doing the Friday nights to stay in business.
Right, and tomorrow's Friday.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Sure, Evie.
I just want to say the complaints against Coca-Cola Rev also go back a few years. This is not a new thing. So it's not like they haven't known that they're a problem, so, and they did sign stipulations, they did all this stuff. So it's not like a new thing. It's not like, okay, 2 months ago there was a problem and we're bringing them in, even if it was a serious. This is like going back.
Yeah, you do have businesses who you talk to them and they say, we'll change, and they actually change. And then you have the ones who come in and say, absolutely, we'll change, and nothing changes. So there's that to consider. And both of these places, in particular, Animos, we had a huge discussion about them 2 years ago. And Coca-Cola Rev, again, is they're a known quantity.
Maybe he goes home tonight and reads his stipulation, and the whole place will change. Because it was obvious to me that he had not taken the time, and he did not know what was in the stipulation. Because if he did, he would not have made so many statements against interest. He was basically saying that he was violating his stipulation repeatedly.
Yeah, so that's the thing. You figure out whether you're going to say, okay, I believe you when you say you're going to change. You say, I don't know that we can believe you that you're going to change things. And we do have tools that will help people be better neighbors. The question is, do they want to use them? So that's what it comes down to.
This is after the fact. I mean, he's had 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, he had plenty of time to go and check. He only came here today because he was forced to come here. They're stuck. Again, it's after the fact. I don't think in any other situation, any kind of agreement, this would be forgiven. It's been a long history. And thank you, Evie, for bringing up again and reiterating about the 2-year. And this is the pattern when we had in the past with other similar places. There is usually a pattern. We do not make light and not support people. We go out of our way to give them the tools consistently. We shouldn't wait till after it's become a long negative history when then they're stuck to come here and then all of a sudden they get enlightened and they say, oh, I am going to change. Again, it's after the fact. They violated the trust. Opportunities were given continually for 2 years.
Yeah. Well, I think when we go forward with this and we're presenting at the full board meeting, I think that we do have a consensus to say that we do not recommend that these two businesses in particular get either the new license granted or the license renewed. And we will also hear from the other committee members. And my guess is there are probably other people on the committee who will have a few things to say, just from experience.
I just want to add that I heard the SLA commissioner speak, and she wants to hear from community boards and she wants to hear from the public, and has definitely said that people should be calling 311. People can even lodge a complaint on the SLA website as well. She said district managers can do it. She said the public can do it. So, and whether it's noise, whether it's violence, whether it's whatever it is, they do want to know this. So our voice is very important. I'm not done, excuse me. And also that it takes time, right? So it's not as if whether we give a yes, we're okay with it, or no, we're not. If we say no, that we're not, that it also takes time. It's not like then immediately they're going to go and necessarily deny them their license or shut them down. That they also there's a backlog on their end of inspectors and all sorts of things, but it is a process. So, and that was something that she articulated, that it does take time.
Yes, through our chair.
Yes.
So everything that the chair of the board stated is absolutely true. Our office does write letters. We do keep a log of these places, and all of the notices are going to State Liquor Authority. Our office is blessed that we have a direct link to the director who handles these things. But as Madam Chair said, I mean, we've seen places, for those of you who've been on this committee for a long time, to close a place up, to say that the place should no longer be in business. It's an average of 3 to 4 years. So even though you may write a letter, state may find a different avenue and they may give them a different opportunity. But if it's a consistent violence issue and law problem within the establishment, state does listen to the community boards. They do respect what you vote. And they also listen very strongly to the district managers because they know we're boots on the ground.
True. Stella?
Yeah, I think also what you said earlier, Kathleen, at the full board meeting, the public will be there. And at times we have people that come in to speak for or against. So there's an opportunity there for us to get further information. Perhaps more people from the community, if they knew, would come and be direct. That's in addition to all the other calls. 311 and the State Liquor Authority.
Through the chair.
Yes.
The people have to call the office before the full board meeting so that you guys can vote on it. At the full board meeting, it's late. We have to send the complaints to 311. The numbers have to be documented. All of the statistics have to be viewable. You're building a case in a case where it costs maybe $500,000 to open these businesses. State Liquor Authority does take it very seriously about the fact that we are putting people out of business in some cases, that we're affecting families and livelihoods and things of that sort. So, that is a major factor. So it has to be kind of beyond the shadow of a doubt when these things happen.
But I do believe we fulfilled our responsibilities as an advisory body. We spent a lot of time talking to people and we asked a lot of questions. Marie?
I agree. I mean, I know what Florence is saying, but here we're just starting the journey to put our recommendation, whatever it is, and people can always, after they see the board meeting or realize what's going on, if there's still problems, I hope they would call. Right, to follow up on that. Because we know that the people around animals are complaining constantly, and it's not only about noise. I'm not so familiar with Coco the Rave about noise, but just from what he said, you know, he didn't even know that was a step or anything was a step. A promoter was, I mean, I don't know. I feel like if I invested all that money, I might know how to keep my business.
Yeah, well, some people don't. Okay, any other comments about these two particular businesses?
No,
Okay,
not for me.
great.
I'm sorry, Kathleen, can I just say something else?
Of course.
I want to give you a shout out. Great job tonight. Your first time chairing this committee, and you did an outstanding job. So we thank you, I'm sure all of us.
I second.
Thank you. Okay, and next time we do it, it'll go a little bit faster because I'll know a little bit better what I'm doing. Let's see, is there any old business or new business to take up? Anybody got anything that we need to know about? Okay, well, I think we earned our pay tonight. And if anybody has any questions or has some further thoughts, please do email me, because everybody on this committee is an integral part of it. And so we need to know what's going on and how people really feel about stuff. And you never ought to be afraid to speak up and say, this is what I think here, okay? Because we're a really solid group and we really care about this community. Anything else? Motion to end the Zoom meeting.
You don't even have to, actually.
Okay, sounds good to me. All right, everybody have a really good night, and we will see you again next week.
See you next
Thank you.
week. Be well.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, Florence.
Bye, everybody.
Later.
Bye-bye. Bye, Marie.
And welcome aboard, Tom.